Hi, everybody, and welcome to the National Cyber League Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Kate Bestenheider, and with me tonight, I have NCL Commissioner Dan Manson. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me on.
So tonight, we're going to talk about my phone is going off. Great start, guys. We're going to talk about my least favorite topic in the NCL games. We're going to talk about cheating, how not to cheat specifically. If you click on the green button at the bottom of your screen, it should say check out Kate's blog on this. It takes us to a guide called Let's Talk About the Elephant in the Room, How Not to Cheat in the NCL games. Dan, as commissioner, is there anything you want to say about cheating before we get started?
Yeah, I really think you can look at it in a simple way. Before the game, ramping up for the game, share, talk to each other, pick each other's brain. After the game, share, debrief with each other. In the individual game, just remember it's an individual game. From the time the NCL game opens to the time the NCL game closes, you cannot share with anybody. You do not want to talk to anybody. You can participate in the Slack, in the Cyber Skyline NCL Slack. So you can have that conversation going on. But remember, you're playing this as an individual. You can help each other before, you can help each other after. During the individual game, you're playing as one person. In the team game, you're playing as one team. So share with your team, work with your team, pick each other's brains, have a strategy as a team, but don't talk to other teams. So it really boils down to something simple.
So I summed it up in my blog with a special thanks to John Mako McGill for pointing me in the right direction with a sort of Fight Club quote. The first rule of the NCL games is you don't talk about the NCL games during the games. The second rule of the NCL games is that you don't talk about the NCL games during the games. The third rule of the NCL games is that if someone yells, "Can you give me a hint?" Goes to a teammate or friend for help, taps out, gives up, the game is over. Fourth rule, only one student per account per season, and only 1 to 7 students per team for the team games. So Fight Club, sort of. It's basically the same as Fight Club.
I agree.
So Dan, basically, like the way I described in the blog is that when the games are open, you can't play. And defining when the games are open is the competitive parts of the season. This refers to the preseason, the individual, and the team. There's only 3 times in the whole season you can't talk to whoever you want to: preseason, individual, and team. It does not count for the gym. The gym is open. The gym is for training. The gym can be a social experience. Literally talk to whoever you want. You can talk to us, like we'll help you in the gym. But it only applies to preseason, individual, and team. And then basically, if the clock is ticking and you see a countdown, the game is open. If you can input answers, the game is open. If you can get points, the game is open. If you can hurt your accuracy, the game is open. Basically, if you can affect your score and rank in any way, the games are open. A good question that someone asked once is, are the games open if I'm not playing? So if I'm not playing an individual season and I'm only here for team, no. The games are still open regardless of if you're actively in the games or not. If you haven't started yet and the games are open, the games are still open. So what are some of the things that people can and can't talk about? You can say, "Oh my God, Crypto 5 is killing me. I want to scream. I cannot wait for the game to be over to talk to you about it." You can't give tips. You can't talk about tools. You can't talk about methodologies. You can't talk about settings. You can't talk about resources. You can't even send them links to my blog. And everybody knows to go to my blog. Can't even do that. Basically, if you are talking about anything that could give someone an advantage in any way or help them in any way, can't talk about it. You also can't talk to your coach at these times. We've had coaches be like, "Oh, well, I'm coaching." No, coach before the games, coach after the games.
It's not like a basketball game where you call a timeout and you talk to the coach. There is no timeout.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to scan through. Can you give, okay, So we've had, and I got this from Cyber Skyline, there were people who were flagged in the cheating audit who said, and I quote, "I didn't cheat. I just told them what tool to use and how to use it." My friend, that's cheating. So you can't help people identify tools that they should use. You can't help people figure out how to use the tools. You can't send them YouTube links. You can't send them to Crowdcast videos. You can't give hints. One of the things that John and I used to do when we were competitors is he used to be like, "Did you finish this challenge?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And he'd be like, "Ugh, I'm beating my head against the wall. I feel like I'm spinning in circles." And I'd be like, "When you get it, you're going to be so mad." Mm-hmm. That's fine, because we didn't talk about anything in the challenge that would give an unfair advantage. Who can you talk to during the team games? It's really black and white. If you go to your Cyber Skyline dashboard, I posted a screen cap in the blog. There's literally a list of names of people who are assigned to your team. Now, one of the other places where people get confused is if their school has multiple teams, right? Because you're all one big school team, but you're not really all on the same team because we only allow up to 7 players on a team. So if your school has more than 7 players, not everybody's on your team. So the way to find that out is to go to your Cyber Skyline dashboard, click on the games, go to overview, and you'll see a list of the names of the people on your team. And you can see, I think I pulled from last season. I'm looking at this. I think I pulled from last season. So it's a fairly updated screen cap on who you can talk to during team. But basically, the clock is ticking. Don't talk to people. And I constantly joke with Cyber Skyline. It's like, if you don't cheat, you can't get caught for cheating. So that's my biggest recommendation. Mm-hmm. Just don't do it. It's real hard.
This is a fun event, and we really want you to enjoy it. And we know it can get frustrating, but the frustration to me is part of the fun. If you're taking a test in a classroom, you cannot move around. You can't ask people questions. And there's some of that in playing the NCL game. You cannot talk to other people while you're taking the examination, while you're going after the flags. We do have the Slack channel. The Slack channel gets very active, but it's not a place.
We talk mad smack in there. And if you're on the leaderboard and you're chasing after an ambassador on the leading board, oh my God, the trash talk is so much fun. I've had players like, "Stop scoring points, Kate." No, never. You guys don't know me very well if you think I'm going to let you off easy. But yeah, there's definitely ways to talk about the games without talking about the challenges within the game. You can talk about categories. You can talk about the name of the challenge. You can be like, "Oh, this is how I can identify that this is the challenge that's driving me nuts." What's really great about the Cyber Skyline Slack is that after the games close, there's a methodologies channel. So you're never, ever allowed to post answers anywhere under any circumstances, period. Like, it's intellectual property. You sign code of ethics when you join. Not allowed to do it. Trust me, I have to beg, plead, borrow, and steal to get approval to post anything, and I still can't post answers. So, but what you can do is you can talk about what tools to use, how to use them in that Slack after the game has closed. And what we do is we go through and we post by category and by challenge. So you can look up the specific challenge that you were struggling in by category. So it'll usually look at like something like open source intel, little carrot, threat intel. And you can find all of the challenges that way. So you do get an opportunity to go back and look at those challenges later. You just can't do it during the games. Preseason, individual, and team are all competitive. And, I made this big push that we don't call NCL a competition anymore, but there are 3 games that are competitive in our season. They're the only ones that matter. Preseason helps decide what bracket you should go in. And the brackets are basically so you're competing against people at your same skill level. We want you to have the best opportunity to succeed. If you cheat at that point, you're only hurting yourself. You're putting yourself up against players that you might not be able to score as well against. Individual is the big kahuna. That's what our scouting report is based off of. That's the one that's probably the most important in the entire season, in my opinion. And then team game, I like to think of it as the fun party after you survive individual games. It's a great time to work with your peers, but only the peers on your team. And that's really important. And coaches can't help during team either. Coaches are never allowed to help students. Coaches can't be on teams. Coaches can't help teams. Coaches just have to watch and go, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And that's sometimes, oh my goodness, look how smart my babies are. And that's sometimes, oh my goodness, they're so close. I want to help them so bad. It's killing me inside. One of our player ambassadors is actually a high school teacher. He teaches an all-girls high school that competes in a ton of competitions, and he knows that, oh my goodness, I want to help them so bad feeling better than any of us. And if he can survive it in all the competitions that he does, your coach can survive it one team game per season.
Your coach prepares you to play the game. When you're playing the game, you are the one playing the game. When the game's over, you can debrief with your coach, but during the game, you're the one.
We do write-ups on like how to have effective debriefs and stuff. And one of my favorite things that we do is we do the ridiculous awards ceremony. So we had a guy who constantly missed practice because he had to go to swim practice, and he was really good at password cracking. So we gave him like best underwater password cracker. And then we had a guy who killed it in network traffic, and his username had like Neverland in it. So we called him the Neverland Network Detection Agency or something. So we gave out coach's assistant. We didn't use that word, but I'll let you use your imaginations because we have 14-year-olds who watch this show now, and I can't swear. But we gave out coach's assistant as an award to the person who like helps coordinate. I made him text everybody if they were late, and I'd be like, go text so-and-so. Where is so-and-so? Because I was like focused on coaching the people who were there. We give out ridiculous awards, and it really gives you the opportunity to highlight where somebody's really excelled. We always give out a most improved. We have like strongest newcomer or something along the lines of like person who came in for the first time and did the best or scored the best of everyone who played for the first time. We give out awards for being the most veteran, having played in the most seasons, or if you're tied, whoever scored the best, having played in the most number of seasons. And that's just a great way to really convince students that they need to come back. So you can do those debriefs and they can learn from their mistakes without having to cheat. So I know we have a couple people in the audience. If you guys have any questions, I know this is a pretty straightforward topic. I feel like most of our players understand how this works. It's really a tiny, tiny percentage of our players that ever get in any trouble. But we feel like this is an important topic, so we want to open the floor to you guys. If you have questions, we want to be able to answer them for you here and now, because this is my one and done. I'm never talking about cheating again. I hate this topic. You can ask Dan. I throw a temper tantrum every time I find out somebody has been caught, because I'm like, they know better. I know they know better. They're my players. They know better.
We communicate with coaches when we have these violations. And to me, the best coaches, some of the best NCL coaches I will ever know, they take it extremely seriously. In fact, they're willing to take more action than even we recommend to take.
A lot of schools treat it as an academic violation, the same way they would a plagiarized report or cheating on an exam. And that's sort of what I personally recommend, but I'm also like the mean disciplinarian mom, because I expect better from you, because if you're a player in the NCL games, you're one of my players, and I believe in you. I support you endlessly. Don't disappoint me. Dan's the nice guy.
The only thing NCL cares about is the integrity of the game. So we want to make sure those, especially those close to the top of the leaderboard, have achieved their scores fairly. So that's what we do when we look at the violations. Whatever the school wants to do, it's not our concern. We care about the integrity of the game.
So Dan, why don't we talk about what happens if players are caught cheating in the violation process? Because I know that there's a rule where you have to have a coach if you want to appeal the violation. Hush has a really good point I want to point out just before we move on. Hush is one of our player ambassadors. Hush just said privately messaging player ambassadors for answers, and I'm going to include tips and hints, is cheating too, especially because we just started using like Twitter challenges, and literally people tried to like DM me on Twitter thinking that I was going to tell them where to find answers on my Twitter. Mm-hmm. It won't happen. So the appeals process, Dan.
So one more question here. When you have no clue on how to solve a puzzle, but you know a partner did solve, how do you ask how to solve it? Well, you basically don't.
Yeah, honestly, John and I did this all the time. John would have solved it and I haven't, or vice versa. And we would mostly just tease each other. We wouldn't give hints or tips, but John would be like, you're going to get so mad when you get it. It's so easy. It's right in front of your face and you don't even know it. Or like usually if he didn't get it, it was a crypto challenge. And I would be like, I know for a fact you know this encryption method. I have taught it. So you have no excuses. But ultimately, you can't help your partners. Like if your partner solved it and you can't, that's an evaluation of your partner's skill and an evaluation of your skill. And they're really separate things. What's great, though, is as soon as that clock hits 0, like call your friend. Find out how they did it. Have them walk you through it and make sure that you never run into that challenge again. And you'll be able to solve it the next season. Like I know that happened with a good friend of mine. I can't remember exactly who, but they never solved the RSA encryption the first time that it came out. And I still don't know how to decrypt it, but I know how to reverse engineer the encryption. So I have this really weird backwards way of solving it, but it gets the job done. So games closed. I shared it with them. The next season it came up again, and we had no idea it was going to come up again or not. They solved it the next season, and that's sort of what we're here to do. We're here to help you grow and to like learn. And really it's about growth over time, right? We don't care how you do on any individual game. We care to see that you're continually improving.
Right. So the appeals process, when we find evidence, I'm not going to get into any of the secret sauce that Cyber Skyline uses, but they do a really good job. When we find evidence, we notify the coach of the players involved. We notify the players individually. It is up to the players, if they want to go through an appeals process, to communicate their appeal to the coach. We only want to talk directly to the coach. We feel that's very important for the game. So what you want to make sure of is that you know who your coach is. And if you ever receive one of these violation letters, you communicate with your coach, the coach communicates with us. And we listen to all appeals. We care about what happened. But it's up to the coach to communicate that to us, and then we make a decision as to what is the evidence and whether it deserves the full punishment.
Just be glad that Dan is the person who makes the decision, because if it were me, if you're even slightly possibly caught, demoted to pewter forever. And Dan's not that mean.
So we do every season have a few people that we put into pewter. And that's what happens when we really believe we have evidence of you doing the violation. And whatever you say to us doesn't change that opinion of what happened. This seems to happen more often with new players. We get this list with experienced players, and we understand with new players, they're still learning how to play NCL, and this can happen. So if you're a new player playing for the first time, this violation happens, learn from it. Don't have it scare you from ever playing NCL again. Learn from it and understand why we have this code of ethics, and follow the code of ethics.
And really the whole purpose of the code of ethics is because we want people to be able to take their scouting reports and use it to help them get employed. We want NCL to be a stepping stone into the industry. And if we don't weed out the cheaters, if you can just get away with it, how's that going to reflect on our competition, and how is that going to help other people use the competition to get jobs? We have more than 5,000 players every season, and that means we send out more than 5,000 scouting reports, and 5,000 people are putting their scouting reports out there to try to get jobs. So when you violate the code of ethics and you cheat, it compromises the integrity of the game, which compromises, how much people are going to rely on the authenticity of those scouting reports for other players. So we take it very seriously. If it were up to me, like, first offense, banned for life, but Dan's nicer.
Well, we want to understand context. Yeah, I was department chair for 3 times. And I learned the value of context when there was someone who came into my office and had a serious issue. But at the same time, the integrity of our program was critical. And in NCL, the integrity of NCL is critical. We never want to lose that.
I mean, it's like those ads from the 90s where it's like, you wouldn't download a car. You wouldn't plagiarize a report. You wouldn't, cheat on a test. It's the same thing. Don't cheat in the NCL games.
It's not worth it. And it's much better if you struggle and learn through struggling than if you try and find a shortcut that no one else does.
And honestly, like, even if you don't solve a challenge, it's definitely better to not solve a challenge and learn after the games than it is to cheat and get bumped down to pewter, because at least then you can use your scouting report. If you cheat and get bumped down to pewter, now you don't get a scouting report. Your scores get pulled from the leaderboard. You can't even say, like, oh, I did so well, because your name's going to be ripped off the leaderboard. Like, that's, going to happen. Gina says the scouting report and your experience will help you get a job. The stuff in NCL is real world tools and techniques, and you can show off your growing knowledge from season to season when you didn't even know what you were looking at in log analysis, to being able to use Linux, to awk and grep to find answers. And this is what we hear from players all the time. This is why we have a player ambassador team, because we hear from you guys how much this is helping you, and we want to find more ways to improve the program and to help you and to give you guys that foothold into the industry. The program was designed because, I didn't have anybody out there who had introductory material for me. So I said, you know what, I'm going to write it. And then, John says in his blog that's coming up that I'm the only person who has read, which is not, I was going to say on his blog that you guys have totally, it's coming out in like a couple Saturdays, why he became a player ambassador. He says that he found my blog and it was the first time he found someone writing to new players. So that's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to be the best first CTF that can help take students from, who I was, like this little noob who couldn't operate her own computer, never mind hack things, to an industry professional. And, I love what I do, and I think I kick pretty good butt at work.
There's a quality we want you to gain in NCL, and it's one of the most important qualities to have in cybersecurity. We want you to gain confidence. We want you to gain belief in your ability. We really believe NCL is a way to gain confidence. It's much more than just sitting in a classroom, listening to lectures, reading a book, and taking a test. This is real world. And you want that to be an authentic experience for yourself and know that you've earned that confidence.
Our chief coach ambassador is in the audience. I'm going to see if he wants to come on screen and say a few things. I'm going to invite him. I don't know if he planned for this. He probably didn't. But hey, every show with me is unscripted AF. But he does say that integrity is part of NCL, players and coaches, cybersecurity professionals. Oh, he's joining. Yay. Hi there, Steven.
Hi. I'll be there in a minute.
Right now we see your escape key.
Yeah, I never knew Steven looked like an escape key.
Okay, well, I had it on my laptop instead of on my big screen.
Okay, well, welcome to the party. Steven's our chief coach ambassador. And Steven, do you want to add anything? I know you've been in the comments a little, so share. You've had some of the most experience coaching NCL of anyone. Why don't you share your experience about integrity and the importance of it in the games?
Well, actually, our students kind of self-manage that as well. So we watch. We've kind of taught this in our ethics class that to kind of question our cohorts if they are seen doing something wrong. So we kind of manage ourselves. We have a share for the NCL that our students go to, and the first thing you see is the ethics document that you just shared with everyone, and we also have our own rules in there as well. So you can actually be expelled from the program if you're caught cheating. It's just kind of a policy of the college, and we've seen this before. Dan and I have seen this in other organizations, but we just we're supposed to have fun. We get, the individual team competition is for individuals, and you need to do that on your own. And just like many people were saying, you learn by making mistakes. Actually, I learn more when I've made a mistake, because it's something that you just don't forget.
Yeah,
I've actually learned so much from Paul and John, some of our player ambassadors. When the freaking game has closed and I spent 6 hours working on a flag and I never got it, and then after the games they tell me how close I was, and I'm just like, cool, thanks. And I never get that same challenge wrong again, ever.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
One of the smartest people I know in cybersecurity, and he's very good at CTFs now, but he told me the first time I played a CTF, I got 0 flags. But it didn't.
That makes me feel a little better. I got a few.
It didn't stop him. So this is a game that you learn by playing. You don't need to be good when you start. You can become good by playing.
I mean, look, fam, you can't do much worse than I did. And here I am. I am literally your chief player ambassador. We literally gave out stickers last season if you were good enough to beat me. Like, and Gina's making the joke, where's the any key? But I literally did not know that Control-Alt-Delete were 3 separate buttons. I was like pressing the power button and wondering why I couldn't log in when it said press Control-Alt-Delete to log in. I kept pressing plus. I was like, that's one of the buttons. Like, y'all don't even know. I was not a computer literate person. I could barely operate my computer. And, I'm a pretty fierce competitor in a lot of CTFs now. So we're going to keep it pretty short and sweet tonight. It's not a super long topic. It's just one that we feel is really, really important. Again, if you have questions, feel free
I want to mention this, that every time you play NCL, you have a question at the beginning that says, have you read the Code of Ethics? Well, read the Code of Ethics. Don't just click yes if you haven't read it. Read it, understand it. If you have questions about it, ask us. If you do have questions about what it says, ask us before you play.
In our capstone class for NCL, they have to write a short paper on that document.
Glad I'm not in your class. I want to write a paper on it. Look, I'm not going to lie. It's really boring. But the most important part of it is that, compete individually. Don't share flags. Don't post the content. It's not your content. Don't do write-ups publicly. Yes, keep notes for yourself. Share it internally to the NCL community in the Cyber Skyline Slack. But don't post, stuff out there. My blog's a special case. If you have a really good write-up, come talk to me. I'll go battle and try to get it where we can publish it. I'm absolutely happy to publish new people's work.
And during the game, except that you're on your own. And this, if you're ever playing the individual game in a shared environment, don't let people have access to your screen.
Yeah, we've had shoulder surfing.
That happens once in a while. People will shoulder surf, and that causes
let me share a kind of a real world experience. On our advisory committee, we have several different companies in Fortune, all the way up down to Fortune 50 companies. And they're one of their biggest issues, and why we have a cyber ethics class is that for that very reason. The feedback we've had from our industry partners, we don't want our employees sharing what's going on in the company on Facebook or LinkedIn, especially if it's kind of proprietary, or, oh, well, we just had this event happen, or this is some project I'm working on with maybe SAP or something like that. Well, that just opens up the idea for maybe a hacker to see what is going on in that company. So we're teaching our students by having these ethics and the behavior and the code of conduct. That's something you have to follow when you go to work, right, Caitlin?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just have recently over the last few years been.
I'm in consulting. I can't say much of anything about what. I mean, I can talk about like what I do, but I can't say who I do it with. I can't give a lot of specificities. You know, I'm in federal compliance, so I have a lot of shush in my life. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it comes down to just read the rules of ethics. It's not that long. It's a little painful. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna tell you it's the most exciting read in the world. But honestly, Cyber Skyline does this like getting started challenge, and that covers most of it. If you're answering those questions wrong, maybe you should talk to an ambassador. In the Slack channel, there's an Ask an Ambassador Slack, and we'll all help you figure it out, especially when it comes to rules. But ultimately, if you are confused, if you don't understand why something is the way it is, I'm big on transparency. Ask anyone from my team. We'll tell you the truth. The reason that you can't post challenges is because we write similar challenges every season so that coaches can teach to the competition so that their players can do really well. So if you're posting how to solve this challenge, then we can't reuse it. And if it's a good challenge, especially the harder challenges, which is the ones people want to do the write-ups on, now we can't use that as a learning opportunity in the future for other people because it's out there, So when it comes to anything, why we do the things that we do, I am huge on transparency. If you ask me and my team, if we don't know the answer, we're going to get it for you. So if you have a question about why things are the way they are, please come to us. It's why we have a player ambassador board. We have the Ask an Ambassador Slack. You can find almost all of us on Twitter. On my website, you can find everybody's Twitter information. That's cryptokate.com. The link in the checkout Kate's blog on this. If you hover over NCL ambassadors, you're going to find everyone. Pick an ambassador. Any of us will help. We're all good people. There are fur people visiting. It looks like you have like a beard. And with that, we're going to wrap up tonight's show. I know it was kind of a short one. The good news is next week we're back to fun topics. We're going to do, it's Crypto Week. Apparently I'll see you guys next week. Open source intelligence and crypto. Last season we tried to do shows individually. This season we did have to combine a couple of topics because we have so much to cover. We literally have 4 blogs coming out a week, 2 live shows a week. So if there's something that you don't see on the schedule that you want to see, ask an ambassador. There's a lot of us. We'll figure it out.
Kate,
and with that,
Kate, you have one more question.
What's that?
Where's Privacy Pupper?
She is like banished right now to the bathroom because I live in a studio. That's the only place you can put her. She's not alone. She's in there with a friend. But yeah, she was going crazy and tried to knock over my entire desk. So Privacy Pupper is in banishment. But Privacy Pupper visits plenty. The next opportunity to see Privacy Pupper, if you guys are going to be at RSA, hey, let me know. It's my first RSA. I'm really excited. If you have pro tips about RSA, let me know. Privacy Pupper will also be at WESIS this year in Colorado. And that's as far as I know our schedule.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you, Kate.
So with that, we're going to wrap up. I can't wait to see you guys at conferences. I can't wait to see you in the Cyber Skyline Slack. And I can't wait to see you in the games. Happy hacking.